President Trump claims the, quote, biggest miscalculation in over 50 years was what prompted him to fire the Bureau of Labor Statistics Commissioner Erica McIntyre. And White House officials are now hinting she may not be the only official shown the door. Her miscalculation? Signing off on that dramatic downward revision in the data for May and June, which dropped jobs added by more than 250,000. Joining us now, CNBC senior analyst and commentator Ron Insana, co-founder and director of economic policy at Veda Partners, Henrietta Treyz, and Charlie Dent, still with us. And Ron, this is how the White House is justifying its move.
As an economist, I like to go for what I can prove, and what I can prove is that the data have become very unreliable. When the revisions are bigger than the number itself, then you know you got troubles.
Okay, Ron, is there any truth to that? Walk us through how these reports work.
So there's a monthly survey that's conducted by the Bureau of Labor Statistics by a wide number of individuals who survey tens of thousands of businesses, American households, to get both the number of jobs created during the month and the unemployment rate that is delivered at 4.2% or thereabouts, as we've seen recently. I would disagree heartily with Kevin Hassett that these numbers are problematic. No one complained, by the way, over the prior 2 months when the numbers came in above expectations. There was some seasonal quirkiness to the June data. They kind of miscounted using a certain seasonal adjustment factor. It gets into the weeds, quite frankly, Ariel, on this, with respect to the number of teachers added or subtracted in June, which was a funny number to be sure, but it made the jobs data stronger than expected. So they were revised downward as they collected more and more data. And this is how the process has worked. We've seen some large revisions, but it closely aligns with what's happening in the private sector, as we've seen from other private data that's been released over the last several months. There's really nothing all that strange about what's going on here. It's certainly not politicized. There are errors that are made and then adjusted, corrected, and this is an ongoing process that happens throughout the entire year.
Henrietta, do you agree? React to what Hassett had to say.
You know, it's amazing. There's the nerdiest chart in all of the internet circulating right now, developed by Ernie Tedeschi at the Budget Lab, and it shows very clearly that BLS data has not just been getting more accurate, but it's more accurate faster than it has been throughout history. It's got an incredible trajectory. And what happens when you put on a 16 percentage point increase in a tariff rate overnight or across 3 months of time, then you see these incredible logjams at the trans-Pacific cargo shipping, at transatlantic cargo shipping. And it creates such uncertainty, which is sort of the buzzword of all of 2025 so far, that it freezes hiring. And you need a period of time for these businesses who are trying to respond to tariffs on steel, tariffs on aluminum, on rain boots, on umbrellas, everything that you can think of. Then they have to fill out these surveys and get them back to BLS. There's bound to be revisions. And what has happened is BLS has been advising the president and updating their data as fast as humanly possible to get him insight as to what the tariffs are doing. And I think the president has lost sight of the fact that the BLS is on his side. When you want to effectuate a trade war or you want to put tariffs on, they're here to help you understand what the impact is. And they're telling you inflation is up. We've lost 116,000 manufacturing jobs in the last year, and we're only growing $35,000 worth of jobs in the last 3 months. And by the way, all those come from the healthcare sector. So the BLS is here to help.
We're only like a minute into this segment, and already the T word came up, tariffs. Ron, Hassett also said that if the president had his own people in place there at the Bureau of Labor Statistics, that maybe the numbers would be more transparent, more reliable. Is there logic to that?
Well, it's a perverse logic. Yeah, if you put your own people in place in any organization that you want, you get the results that you want as well, whether they're accurate or not. And that's the biggest fear, I think, among market participants, should be a fear among consumers as well, and anybody else who's trying to get an accurate assessment of where the economy currently resides. If your own people are fudging the numbers and only giving you the numbers that you want, policy decisions at the Federal Reserve or elsewhere are going to be made in error, and that's going to have consequences for economic activity. We've seen countries, and Ariel, you and I have talked about this in the last several days, that have undertaken putting their own people in charge of economic statistics, and the results have always been bad, whether it's Turkey, whether it's Venezuela, whether it's a host of other countries that do this. The numbers do not add up. They lead to things, unintended consequences like hyperinflation or recession if you should miss the turn. And as was just stated, job growth has slowed considerably. So there's a lot here at stake for these numbers numbers to be accurate.
Yeah, Argentina, Greece also had issues with something similar. Charlie, let's remind our viewers that McEntarfer was confirmed by a bipartisan vote just last year, including Vice President J.D. Vance, Secretary Rubio, who, of course, were both senators at the time. Given that the president's own allies supported her and her position, why now is the president looking to discredit her? Just because of this jobs report?
I think they just want to shoot the messenger. They don't like the message, and they're upset. But I think this is dangerous because, these positions at the director of the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the people who run the census, businesses and investors rely on this data, and they rely on it to be honest and reliable and transparent. And they do get that. And so I think it's a mistake. If Congress wants to take a look at this month's report and why there was maybe a larger discrepancy than there normally is, go ahead, take a look at it. But I'm sure there are real explanations as to why it happened, as was just discussed. That's fine. But firing people and trying to replace them with sycophants who will then maybe manipulate the data to give a current president information that he would prefer, well, that's unhealthy. And it was pointed out, this has happened in places like Argentina, Greece, the Chinese manipulate data, Russia certainly does. But we have to be trusted. The BLS is the gold standard. And there are other federal departments and agencies that do provide nonpartisan, honest data that is used by Americans of all types who make real decisions. And to corrupt this practice, I think, would be very unhealthy for the American economy and the American consumer.
Henrietta.
Ariel, may I pick up on that for just a minute?
Of course.
If Congress wants to do something about this, fund these departments more generously. Stop whacking people in departments that collect critical economic data. We have layoffs that we've seen from DOGE in extremely important areas of the U.S. government, whether it's in healthcare, whether it's in economic analysis, whether it's a wide variety of departments that provide critical information. Give them adequate budgets, give them new technology, upgrade systems, do all that, and you will get better numbers. Putting people in place who give you the numbers that you want, as Charlie has said, and we've heard throughout this conversation, the outcome is generally not favorable.
Henrietta, the last one to you. CNBC had reporting that the Bank of America CEO said that the jobs data is predicated on surveys that are, quote, frankly, just not effective anymore. How do these adjustments that we saw, that downward revision, compare to what we've seen in the past? And is it worth revisiting how this data is collected?
Honestly, I have to echo Ron's point. It's exactly correct. You have to fund these agencies. If you want better results, pay for the performance that you're trying to get. I have to give a little shout out here. My former boss in the United States Senate, a guy named Frank Lautenberg, went to World War II, came back, went to school in the GI Bill, and started ADP. And ADP is where we get so much of our jobs data. That is private sector information. He famously always talked about wanting to sell it, but instead they give it away for free. And then we get the BLS data to complement that. More is better. Put more money into these agencies, get more staff on there who can do more work in a more timely fashion, modernize it if you want to, but invest in what you're trying to get delivered. If you want better, faster data, put your money where your mouth is.
More in the government sector, more in the private sector. All of that data collection could help. Ron Insana, Henrietta Treyz, and Charlie Dent, thank you all.